We are speaking today with Elder Bruce C. Hafen, a member of the First Quorum of the 70 of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Elder Hafen served as the 11th president of BYU-Idaho, then Ricks College, from 1978 to 1985. Welcome, Elder Hafen. We're glad to have you with us today.
Great to be here, Mark.
I'd like to begin by discussing a few things you might have experienced prior to coming to campus. What did you know about the school before being invited to serve here?
I didn't know much at all about Ricks College. I had been there once to help a family member get registered. The only time I'd been on the campus, it never crossed my mind that I would ever be going there to work or live. So I was really startled by this assignment. I hadn't applied for the job and really didn't think that's what I wanted to do. But when I got into it, I discovered what a treasure that place is.
So, not having had a lot of experience with Ricks College at the time, what was your initial reaction when you learned that you had been invited to serve on campus?
Well, I was startled. I didn't know what it meant. I couldn't understand why I would be sent there, and yet I had this kind of peaceful feeling about it, a feeling if this is what the brethren want me to do, we'll go do it.
When you were called, did you seek counsel from anyone? Did you seek to know more about it? And if so, what did they tell you?
Well, I needed a lot of counsel. One of the first people I talked to was President Eyring. He had been the president just before I was appointed. He said, sensing that I was kind of apprehensive and not sure what I should be doing and what it would all mean and what should I do, he really put me at peace when he said, to be the president of Ricks College is like being the mayor of the city of Enoch. This place is so righteous and so pure. Those people are so good, they will not let you fail. So just go walk by faith. They will prop you up, they'll help you, and you'll be just fine. And it turned out to be prophetic. It really was that way.
Once you began to serve on campus, what strengths did you see, both individually or collectively?
I found that the faculty at Ricks College were surprisingly well prepared to teach the students. I had expected that you'd find faculty who were not as well prepared professionally, so they're teaching freshmen and sophomores. But what I discovered is that Ricks College at that time had a greater proportion of its faculty with PhD degrees than about any two-year school you could find. I remember, I guess it was the funeral of one of our fine teachers in the sciences. His son told the story that he realized that his father had a PhD, and he figured out that if you have a PhD, you're really specialized. So he didn't know what his father's specialty was. He said, "Dad, I know you have a PhD in the sciences, so you're really specialized. What's your specialty?" And he had said to his son, "My specialty is freshmen." And that was really true. He brought all that experience and perspective to bear in the service of his students.
Do you have some instances that you could share with us as you were leading and trying to move the work forward up there on the campus of some help that heaven may have given you and your colleagues as you tried to move the work forward?
Yeah. The Student Life Vice President, Max Shirley, and some of his staff came to me and said, "You need to talk to the student body about chastity." I was just concerned about how to approach that subject in a way that would be taken seriously and yet would be taken to heart. And so I just prayed a great deal for help. I just worried about it a lot. I valued my relationship with the students, and I wanted this to build that relationship, but I wanted them to hear what they needed to hear. So the day for the devotional came, and after the devotional, I went back to my office, and as I walked in and put my papers on the desk, I just kind of fell to my knees in gratitude because we had felt such a wonderful spirit in that meeting. There was such hope in my heart for those kids. They were just so honest and so good and so responsive. So I offered a prayer of gratitude for what had happened, and felt such, really such spirit of thanks that I could even be part of this place. But as I was in that attitude of prayer, I had a strong impression come to me with this thought, you're thanking me? Whose school do you think this is? I got that message. I felt so reverent about it. It wasn't that the Lord was helping me. It was that I had the privilege and the blessing of trying to help him. I never forgot that. I think it's just very important to know. And I'm not the first one to discover that, but I did discover it for myself.
Time has passed, and the university is now established, and it's BYU-Idaho. How has the school performed relative to your expectations?
Actually, I didn't have any expectation, not at all, that Ricks College would ever become a four-year school. In fact, I think the most frequently asked question when I would be talking to any groups during our day there, the question would be, will we ever be a four-year school again? There was a time in the 50s when that had happened. And I would just clearly say, no, it'll never happen. That's what I heard the first presidency say over and over. So I was quite astonished when the change was announced, but I had such gratitude for it because I was aware of the research that President Hinckley had seen. I don't know what role this research played, but I know what it said to me. And that was research showing that students who attend BYU Provo or BYU-Idaho are so strengthened in their spiritual commitment as well as their educational skills that they end up living such faithful lives that what the church does in offering them enrollment at a church school is really more an investment than an expense, because what they take away from that school and then give to the church by their leadership, by their families, by everything they do is a permanent blessing to the church. I've remembered one of President Benson's visits to the campus. He spoke at a devotional. Before we went to the devotional, we had lunch in the Man-Waring Center. And just outside the Man-Waring Center, I guess we would have been looking south, up the hill. There wasn't much on the other side of the street in those days, except just kind of bare ground with the hill rising below us. And President Benson stopped as we went into the Man-Waring building, and he looked out across that south expanse. And he asked a question that at first kind of concerned me. He said, how much of that ground is ours, meaning the church? And I had understood that our property line reached clear up the hill to some fence line you could barely see from there. And I was at first concerned that if President Benson learned we had really that much ground we weren't using, he might say, well, then we better put that up for sale. We don't need all that ground. And I just was a bit apprehensive about that. He looked way up the hill and he said, how far does it go? And I said, well, that fence, as far as you can see, clear up there. He said, we own all of that? And I said, yeah, we do, President. He said, good. Well, I didn't know why he would feel that way, but I've been up there more recently, just within the last year, and I've looked at that south expanse, and now I see the temple, and I see all that has filled in between, and I know more about why President Benson, with that prophetic eye, would have felt good. Let's keep it.
Looking back, how would you say that your experience on campus benefited you personally and maybe even your family?
My wife, Marie, is fond of saying that everything we have been asked to do or had the opportunity to do since leaving Rexburg was simply our chance to offer some gratitude and thanks, to offer a kind of repayment for the blessing of being able to live there. And whatever we have been allowed to do was not enough. We went to the campus at a formative stage in the life of our family. When we moved to Rexburg, we had 7 children, all under the age of 14. And so We were there for 7 years, so our oldest went from 14 to 21. Those are the most critical years in any family's life as those kids are moving into those teenage years. To live in Rexburg, to be influenced by the campus, the students and faculty, was an incomparable blessing. We noticed that it was cool to be righteous in Rexburg, and our kids loved that. They thrived under that spirit. At a commencement exercise toward the end of our time in Rexburg, I remember the impression to talk about Kirtland and Nauvoo. And I found myself telling these students who were graduating, your Ricks College years are going to be like Kirtland in the history of the church. You will look back on these Kirtland years when you get to your Nauvoo, when you start to cross your desert and you have to carry some sick children and pull a handcar, and you wonder how you're ever going to do this. You will draw strength from the Kirtland in your life, and that's your time at Ricks College, when you're lifted up out of the kind of worldly turbulence and difficulty and uncertainty. Here the vision is so clear, so strong. It's like a fresh mountain spring, and so you drink from the spring, and then it lasts you through all these difficult years. To be able to hearken back and know what you saw and what you felt and draw on it, it will strengthen and enlighten every step of your journey. So to be given a Kirtland in your life, whenever it comes, will be a permanent blessing that sustains us no matter what we encounter.
Elder Hafen, thank you so much for being with us, for sharing your thoughts, and grateful for your help and contribution to BYU-Idaho.
Thank you.